Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima. Something a little bit weird for you today because I didn't realize this actually existed until an English translation of all things popped up for it on ROM hacking. And I figured, you know what, let's give it a go because I like the Pokemon pinball games, but I always thought they were just a little bit too simple. Turns out they made a few other pinball games, and this is the one that I didn't know about. This is Super Robot Pinball. Jupiter are the people who made the Pokemon pinball games. They also went on to do the original The World Ends With You as a sort of assistant development role, and now they're responsible for all the Picross games that you'll see on all the Nintendo platforms. So they were always a little bit out there in their choices, but Super Robot Pinball, if you have ever watched this channel before, is Super Robot Wars, but in pinball form, on the Game Boy Color. Because, okay, which one of these bloody keys is start? There we go, it's the right shift button, because this game, unfortunately, unlike Pokemon Pinball, doesn't have a way to rebind your controls, so these are the controls I have to work with in order for this game to be anything close to playable for me. Yeah, it's not great, is it? Not great at all. It does kind of work, but it's nowhere near the original Game Boy setup. Notably, you want to know where this works really well? Mobile phones. If you make the controls big enough, it's actually really comfortable. I actually spent a fair amount of time playing this on my phone and transferred the save file back and forth as I did. It was actually a lot of fun. I'm kind of happy that I did it. But anyway, we have a few options here. We have normal, which will just play a regular game. Endless mode, which isn't really endless because you can still lose the game with it, but I think it just means you don't cycle between the two available tables, more or less, so we'll ignore that otherwise. Library is interesting because, of course, this is an English translation, but for now let's go and just have a look at the high score table, which is filled with 3 of my scores. A bunch of mine would be in the 6 through 10s because I was still getting used to the game. And of course, big black, can't say the second word because I'm not out of YouTube's ad-friendly part yet. But you do also have, whoops, I keep forgetting the controls on this are weird. You do also have individual high score tables for the first and second modes for the endless mode, which are of course just those tables repeated over and over again. So if we go to the library, you can find both the super robots that you've gotten throughout the game and a bit of a reference as to what their stats are and what they do. And if you actually select them, it'll tell you where they're from. And you can also see the animations on their attacks because it's Super Robot Wars. Of course, they have some fancy animations going on for their attacks, right? Nothing too out of the ordinary here. Although, notably, this isn't actually accurate to what the game's actual translation is, because the thing about it is that the guy in the translation patch said it would have taken me ages to translate all of the bios, so I was just like, hey, here's where they're from, which is somewhat reasonable. Also, he didn't do the attack names, which kind of sucks for something like Ava here, which is like, what the hell is that meant to be? I've seen Evangelion, and even I don't know what the hell that's meant to be. But yes, notably, it's a little bit inaccurate, but I mean, I'm willing to take it. I mean, there are better sources for this sort of info out on the internet anyway, so it's not the biggest deal, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel a little bit weird, and the enemy stuff is the same. If I just need to remember what buttons do what here. You've got a full list of them, and if we just pick the next one that we come across, not that button. Alright, we'll just pick the O. And you can see, yep, it's just more stuff, a picture of his attack, and there you go. I tell you the one thing that I kind of miss from this fan translation, though. A manual. Because there are a fair few mechanics in this game that go not so much unexplained. It's possible for you to figure them out, but it would have been nice to have a manual translation, even if it was just something as simple as a text file to let you know what the hell you were doing. because sometimes it feels like you can be a little bit lost in this one, if I'm being honest with you. With that said though, let's just immediately jump into a game. You select normal and that's just it. And notably there's also a perfect start functionality where if you hit one of the flippers just as the light goes green, it actually gives you a stronger start. You'll be thrown into the bumpers up there, which to be fair is what you want, because when you hit enough bumpers, it does this. We will be fighting the Genova M9 first and foremost, and you can see some of its stats there. So the entire idea of the game is to get these robots to show up, and then go into the scramble tube, and that lets you pick out what robot you want to fight with. Notably, these are all picked out at random. You can't pick from the list of 40, and the further you go into the game, the more robots you'll get. And each of them has their own set of stats. So you can see here the Ava's got some really high attack and pretty good all-rounder. The Mazinger Z can't avoid for shit, but it's really good at all-rounding, and just so on and so forth. They've all also got their own unique spirit ability. If you've played the Super Robot Wars series, you'll know that pilots can have spirit abilities, which they use MP in order to use, and they have all sorts of different effects. Again, another reason I wish this game had some kind of translation of its manual, because you have no idea what these abilities do, and you're not going to be able to figure them out half the time, because it does not tell you what they do, and it can get kind of annoying. There are also some other things you need to worry about, like there are outlanes there. Thankfully they start out not being actual outlines that'll drain the ball, but you can replenish them with clever use of pickups. You can level up your field multiplier in your ball by going in that right lane there and just slowly charging it up. And that'll make your ball stronger and that'll make you get more points. But notably, once you have a robot, you can go into this whole combat zone here. And what happens is, you need to hit the enemy with the ball in order to start doing damage. And the more that you do, the more attacks that you'll hit. But there's a little bit more to it. The right lane there is your mark lane. And the more times you can send the ball down it before you actually send it up the middle for the attack will actually improve your attack power. And if you send it up the lane on the left there, you can start charging your spirit meter. And once it gets full, you can hit those green areas there in order to actually activate your spirit technique. And the spirit technique can be anything from slow down the enemy advance, to give yourself some health back, to make it that you do a critical hit, I believe is one of them. There's a few of these abilities, and it can be hard to remember them all, especially when they've only got, like, one word, and I just lost the ball. Can't say I'm surprised. You get bonus points, of course. There's multipliers. There's plenty of things you can do in order to make that better. And whoosh, we're up again. And the game basically repeats like that. You go into the bumpers up at the top there. You hit them enough times, an enemy comes out, you go get a super robot to fight them with. And it just repeats. Although there is a little bit more to the game structure than that. When you defeat a certain amount of enemy robots, you'll eventually get into a sort of one-on-one fight. You and your ball versus a much harder enemy. And when you successfully win that fight, it'll put you on a second table, which is a fair bit harder. And of course, the more enemies that you defeat, the more different super robots will be available for you to use. So you start out with, like, the regular Gundam, the regular Combattler, the Mazinger Z. But when you go through more fights, you'll unlock, like, the Double Zeta Gundam, you'll unlock the Hyakushiki, you'll unlock higher Ghetto robots, etc. So you've got a fair amount to unlock, because there are a lot of different kinds of robots, there's a lot of different kinds of enemy robots to fight, and it's all kind of neat because it's all got its own soundtrack. At least until you... no, I think it actually continues up here, but... Yeah, they've all got their own unique take on the music from the series in question, because of course this is all based off real Super Robot series from Japan. Although most of them I've never heard of. I'll just come out and say that right away, because this is a Super Robot Wars game from the 2000s, and they do have like some of the big ones that you know of, like Mazinger, Gundam, everything in between, right? But they've also got a bunch of other ones that I've never heard of, because they tend to pick up ones that are popular at the time. And in 2000, I was approximately 7 years old, and I didn't have access to anime, just in general. I don't think anyone in Australia had access to anime in general at the time. So, yeah, good luck finding anyone who would have been able to appreciate Super Robot Pinball for what it was at the time. But still, they've put a lot of effort into it, because you have to remember, this is the Game Boy Color. And for the Game Boy Color, these are some really nice illustrations. And these are some really nice audio tracks, although admittedly, some of them can be a bit rough. I'll say that right off the bat. It really doesn't help that the game might be one of the loudest Game Boy games in existence. It's genuinely filled with, like, sounds and the audio tracks and everything in between. And I gotta tell you, man, it can be a little bit rough trying to listen to it all. I got used to it, but it took a couple of hours of playing, and I can understand why someone might see the audio in this game and think, oh god, I need to turn this off. This will absolutely kill my ears. So on top of the regular controls, you've also got nudge buttons. They are mapped to up, right, and B on the Game Boy, but I've mapped them to next to my flipper buttons. And I believe you can nudge as much as you want. I'm still trying to get used to how that works, because admittedly the ball physics in this game are actually really good. Like, for a 2000 pinball game on the Game Boy Color, they are really good for no discernible reason. What do I want here? I think we'll go with... I wasn't intending to go with S, but whatever, we'll go with S. As long as you get 2 on the slot machine there, which you get by filling in the in-lanes there, down the bottom, it'll give you a third one, and it gives you everything from a Harrow target in the middle, which you can hit for extra points. You can also get that by filling in those 3 targets down there that fill in. Same thing with the ball save. But there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Like, as far as I'm aware, the only way that you're getting an extra ball in this game is by getting the right slot targets, and I don't even know how to get that to show up. It has this tendency not to show up. I also don't know how you fill in the out lanes so that you don't instantly die. They tend to replenish a lot, no matter what you do. It's kind of odd. There are also missions that you can do that you unlock by doing some stuff. It's like a switch on the left, and then there's a hole that opens up on the right. And if you manage to get that done... Damn, missed the opportunity to power up the Gundam. If you hit the switch on the left and then hop into the hole on the... No, apparently that's not how you do it. But you open up the hole on the right, and when you do that, you unlock the ability to do a mission. And these missions usually tell you what they want you to do, which is good. Although it can be kind of rough on the descriptive element of it, because, well, I mean, it's got so little room up there that there's very little that you can realistically do about it. And yes, of course, the enemy robot here will hit you back if you don't hit them enough. And if you die, well, you don't lose the ball, but you do have to go and get a new super robot to fight again. But you can actually drop back out of the bottom of the playfield and go and get a new one once your health gets low enough, which is kind of a neat touch. Although, there are also some other neat touches to the battle as well. Like, for example, you can see down the bottom next to the flippers just how long it's going to take them in order to actually get another attack out. And if you hit them with enough attacks, you can actually drive that meter backwards, which is really cool because it gives you a little bit of flexing in order to... flexibility, I should say, flexing. Look at my super robot's muscles. It gives you a lot of flexibility because it means that you can go and hit it as much as you possibly can in order to just like, take it out from a really low amount in order to, like, not take another hit and die. Or you can constantly be trying to charge up your attack power and hitting it with level 3s, which is... Both of them are entirely valid strategies. As long as it keeps you in the fight, there's absolutely nothing wrong with either of those strategies, you know? But yeah, as I was saying before, the mechanics on the ball here actually feel really good. Like these, yeah, there's the mission there. The mechanics on the ball feel really good. It rolls really naturally. The way it comes off the flippers is mostly predictable. You don't have that many pixels to work with, so sometimes you could swear on your mother's life that the ball should have come off of the flipper a different way, but it just didn't. But I'm willing to let that go because it does roll really naturally, and admittedly, it's not actually that unfair of a pinball game. You get an absolute ton of opportunities to get your ball savers and your outlane protectors back. You get a lot of free nudging, and again, the physics on this ball are not absolute dog's bollocks, so playing the game feels entirely natural. Even though it does come with the usual pinball trappings and sensibilities, like, why the hell did my ball not go where I wanted it to? God damn it, could you please not get your ass kicked by this robot while I'm trying to get it in the right damn lane, you absolute ponce? But it's still a relatively hard game as well, especially when you start getting to the the bigger boss fights, the ones that have a really high set of stats, and you need to start thinking about, all right, what super robot do I actually want to take along to this fight? Because if I take along a bad robot to this fight, I'll probably get wrecked. It's not massively in-depth, but it's pretty in-depth, and it's actually pretty enjoyable to think about. And of course, there's plenty of opportunities for high scores. While the missions on the right only give you points. That seems to be their only objective in life, to give you points. And while a lot of other things only give you points as well, so it's not the most mechanically complex pinball table you're ever going to play, but then again, it's also the Game Boy Color. You don't have much room to work with, especially when you need to be using a fair amount of this space on animations. Although I do appreciate how the bumpers change and level up and level down as they go. It's a nice touch. There's actually a fair few nice touches here. And as you can see, that HP lane, if you hop into that HP lane while you're, there we go, powered up the Gundam Mark II. What that actually does, I have no idea, because I haven't noticed any real difference in the Super Robot's attack strength, but there you go. You can also just, like, swap out. Like, yeah, let's swap out to the Gundam Wing. It's just more powerful. There's no reason not to. But yeah, while the game isn't mechanically complex, it's still satisfying. There we go. It is possible to get that slot to be any bonus you want if you're just willing to spend the time, but I'm not, unless it's like an extra ball. There we go. Let's go fight the... What do they call it? The Gyarios Beta 3 or something? Yeah, there's that animation. Half its health gone in one shot. That ain't gonna help if we can't get the other half done. But yeah, it's not mechanically deep, at least not massively. But the physics work well, what is there is fun to do. And if you weren't paying attention in the earlier segment where I was looking through the game's menu system, it has like 40 super robots and 60 enemy robots to fight. So it's actually got a fair amount of content going for it. Especially since you don't know what you're going to fight on any particular occasion. It actually works pretty well to keeping the game somewhat varied. Here we go. This is where the fun begins. This is the... God, if I know, I cannot remember my katakana. I think it's the katakana. No, it's hiragana. Katakana is the English loan words one. But yeah, this is where the fun begins. So this one's fun. So this is just you versus the monster, right? Just you as the ball versus the monster. And you need to power up your ball in order to... Yeah, there we go. I immediately lost the fight. So, it's you versus the monster, but the monster has the ability to disable your flippers. And this is entirely possible to end up in a situation where it's like, the flipper that you need in order to keep your ball in play is disabled. Have fun. And of course, as soon as you drop out... That was entirely luck. As soon as you drop out, you have to go and fight another enemy robot before they'll let you challenge that boss again, and it doesn't keep the same health. Notably, when you like drop below, back into the first table, when you're fighting an enemy robot like this, it'll actually keep its health, so it gives you time to get the HP back, swap out to another robot if entirely necessary, and then just go. But it's just kind of rough when you're trying to fight that thing, and it's like you've fought it 5 times on one ball. You're trying to get to the second table, and it just will not let you get the bloody ball save back up fast enough in order to actually save your ass. And it's so annoying. You could probably get away with it with gratuitous nudge use, but I just haven't quite figured out how to make nudges work really well on that boss yet. And of course, once you beat him, you'll get to the second table, which is a little bit harder, and you'll just slowly get more and more points. Kind of annoying that when you hit the boss in the middle of its attack animation, it doesn't actually count as a hit for you, which is not great. Also of note, you might notice that the level on the ball actually changes its color, and that actually affects the amount of damage you do to that boss that you fight with your own ball by yourself. So it's kind of effective to get your ball as high a level as possible, and then go back up and try and defeat the boss. But at the same time, you're going to be losing time with At the same time, you're going to be losing levels with the ball because it goes down naturally over time. So it's gonna suck. One way or another, it's gonna suck. One more shot will do it if I can actually... Nope, lost the Hyakushiki. And I get to do it all again. Because I suck. Oh well, it's me and pinball games for you. Sometimes I'm savant level, sometimes I'm retard level. Not intentional, because I'm pretty sure I've already got ball save, but there you go. Although I do appreciate that the ball save in this game is just another kooky-looking robot. That's fun. You know, just immediately onto another one. You can't skip it. Doran, apparently. I have no idea what that's even from. Come on, bounce in there. There we go. Let's see. Get a 2. Why not? Different soundtrack in the background. Mission number 14, which is not relevant because I hit it into the actual boss fight, so it doesn't matter. It just kills the mission entirely if you do that, which is unfortunate if you're trying to actually get a mission and get some high scores going. Although, disappointingly, I don't think high scores actually do anything in this game. Like, it'd be good if a proper high score gave you, like, more super robots to fight, or allowed you to increase the difficulty, or... So yeah, we just activated his spirit ability there, but I'd be lying if I said I knew what that did. You do also have some outlane abilities that can be triggered by Spirit. Well, not outlane abilities, but you can see how there's some extra, like, lights up there that look like coins. Some Spirit abilities let you actually light those. As to what they do, I think it's like a stun, but I don't think I've managed to actually pull one off yet. Got some HP back. Now I just need to actually get back in the fight. Almost. Scramble lane's not open because I didn't kill enough bumpers. There we are. So yeah, we're back in the fight. We got full health and he's at very quickly being reduced health. We'll just say that much. Helps when you can bounce the ball like that and get like 3 attacks in on him at once, especially since it slows down the rate he can hit you back. Very useful. Yeah, you just stand there with that smug look on your face. You deserve it. Well, I deserve the smug look on my face though, because we're going up against the thing again. It's actually got a pretty long time limit. The thing that'll kill you the most in this boss fight is just dropping and losing your ball save, which is just kind of rough. Although, admittedly, if you manage to hit it before, while it's out, but before you can, but before it manages to get its attack out, you'll actually stun it. Also, yeah, you bounce around like crazy when he actually hits you in his ball form, which is not fun. Especially when you got no ball save. No! Probably the most annoying part of the game, honestly. Regular old Super Robot fights are like, yeah, sure, get some health back. Fight them off if you want to. There we go. Get some health back. Fight, get some health back. Swap out to a new thing. Take your time. But this is like, nope! You get to fight that boss again, sir. Entirely from scratch. I don't know if this actually supports save states or not, because fun thing about the emulators I would usually use, excuse me, they all had Magma Demon, okay. Fun thing about the emulators I would usually use for this sort of video, they actually don't work, most of them. Gun Cannon, why not? BizHawk had some absolutely horrendous input lag, to the point where the game was literally unplayable. It was genuinely bizarre. BGB, which is what I'd usually use for a video recording a Game Boy game, didn't support using both shifts as individual inputs. So I ended up using Sane Boy, of all things. Which, to be fair, is not a bad emulator at all, just I'd never expected to need to use Sane Boy. It's a very lightweight emulator, but it does the job. Although it did come in with some absolutely horrific frame blending that thankfully you could turn off, and there goes the ball. Probably could have nudged that one out of the way, but this video's already 30 minutes long. I don't want to keep you for that much longer. Although I am genuinely surprised that I haven't seen any extra balls from the slots yet. Usually you'd see them by now. My highest scoring game let me get like 3 extra balls off of the slots. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll play this for a lot longer. I'll see the second table. Kachuki, apparently. Tell you what, I'll bloody save state if I end up getting to that boss again. Does this support save states? Oh, there it was. Control plus 0 to 9. Yep, okay. So, I'll use a save state if we get to that boss again. We'll beat it, and then we'll go for the second table, because I would like to at least show you the table, but since I've only got 1 ball left, there's a chance we might not actually get that done at all. Question is, though, can I actually get up to actually recruit a super robot? number 5. Enemy lane. Yeah, explain. Oh, enemy lane. Yeah, there we go. Then you have to break the bumpers and... Yeah, shame they couldn't fit a little bit more, oh. One of my favourite Mobile Suit designs, Control 1 for the save state. The Gundam Death Scythe. Although I'm much more of a fan of the Gundam Death Scythe Hell because those wings are just... mwah, beautiful. Bloody hell, I can hit it in there by accident all the time, but when I actually want to, it's like, nope! Oh no, nope, 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 there we go. We're alright. Bumper level down, apparently. Hitting the bumpers is enough for a bumper level down. I need to go for boss 30. Complete fuck up. Alright, that works too. Nope! There we go. Let's take this winged freak out of the sky. If I can, like, actually hit it while it's not in the middle of an animation, that would be great. Thank you, game. You see, like, I hit it there, but it didn't count because he was in the middle of his animation, so there we are. Mark 2. Bouncy, bouncy. Gundam Death Scythe Hell doesn't have much in the way of defense, and it's not working out well for me. He's already at half health, and that's from like 2 attacks. Someone with high defense might have actually done better here, but... thankfully he's also relatively evasive. At least I got the ball save back, but... to be fair, the ball save doesn't actually help you out that much when you're actually trying to escape the boss. Because if you're actually trying to escape the boss and the ball save is there, it's like, oh dear. I just need to hit it one more time. There we go. Now remember, it's Control 1 to save, Control Shift 1 to load. I know I'm kind of cheating here, but you saw my high scores. I can do this. And I'd like to show you the second table if you're still around and watching. Save there. And away we go. I'm at level blue, which isn't too bad, honestly. But I would like to try and power up, but those lanes are so hard to hit, especially when this bloody thing is flying around all over the place trying to do you in, as much as it is, well, that's pretty much its only job, really. Thankfully, he's directly in front of the flippers there, so I can get a couple of extra hits in. Hey, what's the bet? I've used save states now, so this is the time I'm not actually going to need them. Really like to get that ball save up, please. Thank you. Nope. Okay, Control Shift 1. Let's do this again. Honestly, I don't know what happens when you get to the second level table and then fight off enough to get to its boss. Because, well, I just haven't gotten there yet. Even on 3 balls, it can be just a little bit rough. Yep, straight down the middle. Control Shift 1. Let's do that again. Yep, actually got it that time. Straight into the power-up lane. That's actually good for me. Yep, if I didn't have the ball save out, I would be dead. Thankfully, I'm actually getting really lucky with the ball saves this time. So there we go, and you can see just how much damage I did to the bloody thing while I'm in level red. So coming in on level red and just getting a few initial hits in, really good for ya. There we go. Only took 3 extra tries. Shot down the Dester. Almost sounds like Duster. Next, second stage. So yeah, this table's huge. Control 1 to save just to be safe, but it's got all of the... That's why you control save. It's actually got all the same stuff, but it's on a bigger table with a bit more room to maneuver. So it can actually be kind of horrific. Also, there's your missions over there. Much more obvious on this table. Don't even remember where the... Oh yeah, the HP lane is that circular one there. But yeah, you go up to the second table, and this is where you go to beat the crap out of all of the bumpers. Also, nice touch, although I'm not entirely sure why they felt the need to do this, but if you hit start, you can actually see all of the bumpers that you've taken out. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the point of this is. It also lets you double check the stats of the robots if you have a super robot and a boss ready to go, right? But otherwise, it's the same old table, nothing particularly out of the ordinary, just a bit taller and a bit more difficult, admittedly. So who are we fighting this time? It's going to be... Namazungo! God, that's a fat robot. But anyway, yeah, the new lane is over on the right there, but we can also scramble, or we need to scramble. Zambot 3 hits like a truck, but can't dodge to save his life. I mean, sure, why not? Also, knockback right into the boss fight. I appreciate it. Also, you might notice here that the table is actually kind of different, which is a nice touch because it means you can't just rest on having perfect knowledge of the original table. It actually changes up the angles you need to hit slightly. So, you know, good stuff. So just holding him back with level 1 attacks is actually working out pretty well for me here because, well, he's only managed to hit me once. I don't even remember what the spirit is on this guy. Whoa! Okay, there we go. Nice and dead, the numbers go, and I got 9 million points for it. Slowly just increases the value. Although, he would be an absolute dick if you had to fight that other boss on this table, I tell ya. There's a lot of points. All of the points. Oh well. I can't say I'm surprised, but the video is 38 minutes long. That's more than long enough for Super Robot Pinball. I wish the fan translation had a proper manual. It's one of the loudest games I've ever heard, and it's not that mechanically deep, but the physics are really good. What is there is fun to play around with. There's a lot of Super Robots to collect, and the presentation for a Game Boy game is actually really good. I enjoy it a lot, and I'm more than happy to recommend it to anyone who's remotely interested in the concept, which is Super Robot Wars combined with pinball. Would have been great to see a more advanced version of this on the Game Boy Advance. Totally didn't mean to do that, honest. With that said, this has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.